You were mentioning animal tracks. Do you
Yes.
guys have maps on the Fish and Wildlife Refuge about animal tracks?
I don't know that there's anything on like our website about them, but there is just a ton of resources online. I'd be happy to send you some if you, I can, or send them to Matt. I know we just shared some, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, I think had a Wisconsin tracks guide that we sent out to our third grade students. So there's a ton of resources to learn more about what's in our area. I know for me, I've enjoyed like learning how to tell voles, shrews, and mice apart. There's so much that happens on the prairie in winter that I don't think about because you don't see a ton of animals always moving above the grasses. But as soon as you get down low, when we have the right snow conditions, it's incredible how busy it is out in between the grasses. So fun challenges for removing snow from the sidewalks and things to name those tracks.
All right.
The other
So
place, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
The other place that's been really awesome to explore in the La Crosse area, at least I've enjoyed, is the Great River State Trail. The bike trail runs from Unalaska all the way up to Trempealeau and further. But it goes from Lytle's Landing on the north end of Bryce Prairie up to Trempealeau. It goes through that floodplain forest habitat. So I've seen some possum tracks and otter tracks. Just some neat animals that we don't always see evidence of, but like
No, I'm okay.
through their eyes, but we can see the tracks they leave behind. So that's been a great spot. And just the prairie trails by the visitor center to see evidence of animals you might not see right away. So
Great. Lots of good information. All right. So what we've kind of decided for our format for our breakouts is we're just going to go around the room and we're going to have kind of a discussion topic and we're going to ask for everybody to kind of share their thoughts or their ideas and hopefully we can generate some good discussion and maybe some other questions will come up and maybe just get some ideas out there that can help each other out. So our first question here is we just want to know from everybody what you thought was most interesting from the three speakers we had. So think about what you thought was the most interesting thing, and we'll just go around. So David, how about you? I know you were one of our one of our presenters, but what did you find interesting from?
I like the fish and wildlife map and with the map for all those areas, Katie, thank you. I think that's going to be
Great. And we'll just go around on my screen here. So Christy is next on my screen. What was interesting for you?
I liked just the reminder that, like you could rent the snowshoes and just there's things around our area and you just forget that they're available or you don't even know they're available. So it was just a nice reminder.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I wasn't aware that that was something that WISCOR offered. So that would be pretty cool to do with family or with scouts for sure. Tom, how about you?
I'm trying to remember a couple of years during a polar day camp, they got a handful of GPS units from, I don't know if it was WISCOR or Fish and Wildlife, that we used for one of the outdoor events. Again, the reminders of what we have in the area, and knowing to look up the resources. I guess I don't think a whole lot of hitting the nature areas or the refuge and things like that, because you wind up looking for stuff close to home. And I know how you can forget that because we have people here in Sparta that have never heard of Whitetail Ridge to go tubing and stuff like that. So it was good information. I like it.
All right, great. Jackie, what did you take from it?
I think again, just to echo on the other people have already said, but just again, the reminders about what's available in our area. I guess even just thinking about the fact that the Merrick Park Center is something that's still open at this time. And I think we just think of it as it's just been shut down since last March. So maybe that'd be good for us to explore maybe that mobile critter mobile or, or the some of the maps that Katie referenced, and that I think those are all good things that we could think about for the future.
All right, great. Margaret, how about you?
Well, having not really lived here that long, it's good to know that there are other things to get out there all year round to do. And Katie's presentation with the maps and everything that everybody can look into on their own and get even more information so they can, go armed with everything they can show the kids. Great.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so Ryan, what did you think?
I loved Breadstick's hairdo. On a more serious note, I was a big fan of all the snow shelters and stuff that Dave presented. So
Yeah, that was pretty neat. That's quite the process to build those and put those together. Brenda, how about you?
I was excited about the WISCOR ideas, and mostly because I have never really gone over there and been a part of that. So I'd be excited to go and do that as a PAC meeting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some opportunities for some things, especially for our younger scouts, with some of the programming and some of the things that they have available. All right, so I've got Matthew's iPhone.
Yeah, that's thanks. I unfortunately got on a little bit late because I was coaching basketball.
Oh, okay.
But just picking up on what everybody else was talking about, the WISCOR stuff and the snowshoeing is a lot of fun. I've actually done that with another group, the group Camo, and it's fun to go snowshoeing because a lot of kids haven't done that. So that's one thing that's really neat. And then I caught the tail end of Katie's presentation, and it's great. They offer great stuff. I've been out to the Fish and Wildlife events in the past, and they have great information. But one of the things she was talking about is the tracks. And I can tell you from having older scouts and scouts BSA, that's one of their requirements is to go on a hike and find evidence of 10 living things. And the snow is a perfect time for finding tracks because they're so easy to see, and the kids get excited about seeing them too. So those are the two things that I kind of took away from what I caught and from the other discussions.
Great. And you mentioned Scouts BSA with the tracks. I'm pretty sure that at least one of the levels in Cub Scouts, the tracks is identifying tracks as one of the requirements for that too. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is. I don't know if it's bear or tigers, but tracking is important and part of that too. So, all right, Sue, what did you take away?
I guess I didn't get there on right away, so I guess the snowshoe thing, it sounds good to, like everybody was saying.
Yeah, that would be fun and interesting. Mark, how about you? What did you think?
Well, mostly just the reminder that things are in fact open, and you can get outside here and abide by some different restrictions, but that we are open and doing things. That was just a good reminder there.
Yeah, always good to have that reminder. Joe,
Have everybody bring a lot of hot chocolate along.
Absolutely. Tom, did you have something to add or a question?
Question for Katie. Because I live so far away from the Mississippi, has the eagle migration gone through yet, or what's the status of that?
March is when, early March, late February, when the ice starts to move out, that's when we see the peak of the eagle migration. With the water staying more open this year, we definitely are seeing them grouping up around that open water. So by the locks and dams is a really good place to see eagles right now. Pretty much all the lock and dams, there's water open either above or below them. So you'll see just large groups of eagles in the trees along the river, just kind of hunting for fish as they are churning in that open water.
I think that'd be a fun field trip for the younger scouts to see those, because that's just awesome to see them all flock together like that.
It's a super fun, more focused scavenger hunt to look for any winter raptors. They stand out a lot more now that there's not leaves on the trees. So there's sharp-shinned hawks out there, Cooper's hawks. We get the rough-legged hawks that come down from the Arctic that look kind of like red tails, but have little dark elbow patches on the underside of them. Merlins and kestrels are here. So there's definitely life in the winter that maybe isn't what you think of right away.
Thank you.
Joe, do you have any thoughts? I didn't really hit you as we were going around. Anything to add? Or
I thought it was all great content. I was excited to hear that there's binoculars to check out for bird watching. I think that'd be a pretty neat Cub Scout level activity, even just in terms of, you know, learning how to use that tool. So I thought that was pretty neat. And saw some new boat landings to check out on the US website too.
It's kind of a fun time for bird watching, just because, again, without the leaves on the trees, there's woodpeckers, chickadees, cardinals, some of the more brightly colored birds, blue jays. To be able to see the birds and see them move easily is a lot easier in winter than in the springtime when there's leaves on the trees and a lot more birds around. So if you have kids that are interested or might be interested in birding, it can be a good time to get out to learn birds. There's also some really simple winter activities you can do just from a sensory perspective. Just getting out to look for things that are rough, like the tree bark, things that are soft with the prairie grasses. We do really simple stuff with our third graders in December when it's usually pretty cold to have them look for something brightly colored. There's tree buds that are bright yellow or bright red that are on shrubs, the bitternut hickory, eye level. The other thing we try to emphasize with our leaders when we have school field trips is that you don't have to know all the answers. Part of the joy in getting out there is making those discoveries. So if the scouts find something they're really interested in, if it's not too cold to take a picture, you can take a picture and bring it back and look it up together as a group. You can make a sketch of it. We bring our little nature journals, which can be as easy as a recycled paper out there with us to jot some notes down, look it up together. So with the tracks or birds, it's totally cool if you don't know what they are. We're all out there to learn together. So don't be afraid if you don't know everything while you're out there with them. And I think part of the experience for them is being able to make those discoveries.
I just like to put in a plug for keeping track of the tundra swans when they come through. You can look those up online and they'll tell you when they're coming through. That's pretty awesome to see.
I think the fall migration and the spring migration in general is pretty neat. There's quite a few lookouts along the river and along the refuge there where you can see and observe quite a bit.
There's 290 species of migratory birds that move through the refuge every year. We get about 40% of the nation's waterfowl that come through in the fall. So it's an incredible experience. And I feel fortunate to be here. I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit and Philadelphia, and I didn't know that there were any other ducks other than mallards until I moved to the Midwest. I'd never seen anything else. So if you have kids who might be interested to get out and enjoy that, usually mid-November is the peak of the waterfowl migration. Brownsville Overlook near Brownsville, Minnesota is a great place to go, where Shady Maple Overlook, just about like a half mile south of Goose Island County Park, south of La Crosse, is another great spot to get out and enjoy them. Trempealeau National Wildlife Refuge is amazing. And the spring migration, tons of little warblers that are moving through. The Mississippi is great too. It's just a little bit more overwhelming to see them. The Great River State Bike Trail is another great spring migration place to get out and enjoy. But yeah, it's a phenomenal place here in relatively your backyard to see that. That's really not too common across the United States. So happy to be here and be learning all these things with you.
That's great. Katie, are there volunteer opportunities that scouts could get involved with any of the refuge areas or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service?
We're in a little bit of a transition right now. We have a new biologist who'll be coming on hopefully sometime this spring. So we may have some invasive species removal opportunities for probably older scouts. And then we may be doing some tree plantings. We also have a brand new forester who just joined us recently. So our opportunities are really dependent on our staff time, who's available when, and kind of what the needs are. But generally speaking, we'll have an invasive species workday at some point, and most years, either in spring or fall, we have some sort of tree or shrub planting opportunity. So I'd be happy to keep you posted on those.
That would be great. Thank you. And then Joe, I was wondering, I was thinking as our presenters were speaking, would it be possible, could we include maybe contact information for these individuals when we publish when we put the slideshow up on the web?
Yeah, absolutely. Katie, if you want to maybe just share in the chat with me, if you have or you can share it with the group as well. Your email address and whatever the preferred phone number is. And then in addition to people grabbing it here during this meeting, we'll post it on the Roundtable webpage, which is a reminder, you can always view the recordings and find the slide deck and any of the follow-up resources on that gatewayscouting.org/roundtable page.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, we do have a few minutes left. So we also thought, the planning team thought it would be good to maybe just get some feedback from the people in our breakout here about what sort of things you are planning on doing in the next couple of months. What are your packs? What have your packs got planned? What sort of activities are you going to do? Just so we can, get ideas out there and maybe everybody can take away something new. So we can kind of go around the room again, like we did before. So David, what have you got planned?
We're tentatively planning an ice fishing activity at Lunda Park in Black River Falls on the 27th. I have a person working on that. We're planning on doing a Pinewood Derby on March 20th. We're not quite sure. We're small enough where you think we can all be together in the church meeting room and be spread out far enough that that'll work.
That's great. Thank you.
We also have a farm tour set up for April at a local farm. So that's something else we'll be doing.
Fantastic. Christy, how about your group?
We've got the Pinewood Derby. We've got we're going to be tie-dyeing some shirts so that when the kids go to camp this summer, our pack will have kind of the same kind of shirts. And we were talking about doing a rain gutter regatta with minnows. We haven't done it yet, so we'll see how this is going to go. But
that
yeah.
Sounds fun. So kind of racing minnows in the troughs instead of boats.
Yeah, because we were trying to get away from blowing, and so we thought that was suggested from somebody from the troop. So we'll have to. We haven't organized it yet, but that's on the calendar.
That so. Sounds like a great and fun idea. Margaret, how about your pack?
I'm not with a unit.
Okay.
I'm on the district committee.
Oh, your district committee. Okay. Have you heard of any ideas? Anything that groups are doing?
I really don't get too much out of it. I don't have that connection, so I'm kind of lost here.
Okay. All right. Well, Jackie, how about you?
I echo what Christy Gronimus had to say because we're in the same troop in the Cub Scout group. So
okay,
all the activities she mentioned is what I'm also doing.
All right. It sounds like you have some fun things planned.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, how about you?
Well, again, being a small group, we're doing a Pinewood Derby. The other pack in town offered to do it together, and I thought, boy, last year or next year would be great, but not this one. So we're going to stick small. I did go out and check out Justin Trails, like I mentioned before. Unfortunately, the last 2 weekends or last weekend and this coming weekend are not conducive to getting out and playing in the snow very much. So, but that's one thing. And then of course the Polar Cup Day Camp coming up, and then we're going to do a picnic later on in the spring.
Great.
Clean everything up.
Great. Joe, I see it's 7:50 and I don't want to cut other people off, but I know there's some council announcements, or should we jump back for that, or what?
You know, I think we've got a few.
Joe,
The other
can I
packs
ask a quick question while we have the Cub Scouts out here before we break out?
Go for it.
Is there going to be a district Pinewood Derby?
So the plan right now is to try and offer an outdoor district Pinewood Derby once the weather is best. So it likely will not be on that calendar date of mid-April. You know, it might be end of May, first weekend of June, location TBD. It'll probably be open to whatever Cub Scouts would like to race, because we know that some packs are choosing not to do choosing or finding it unable to do a district or do a pack race. So.
Okay. Because we were trying to plan our Pinewood Derby before the district just in case. So good information. Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess I'll put a plug in for that. You know, it's just kind of in the idea phase right now. For it really to get done, we could use some help from individuals to kind of be part of a project team to do that. So if you're a Pinewood Derby aficionado, or if your pack has got a really nice track, maybe reach out to Zach or I, and we can get you into the conversation once it gets kicked off.
All right. And Joe, you kind of were cutting out for me when in that first, what do you want to jump back to the other?
Well, yeah, we'll jump back
in stuff, or
we can jump back in a minute, but I want to make sure that any of the packs that didn't share have a chance to share. So if there's anyone that didn't share what they have coming up in the next, few weeks, we probably can get one more in.
So I know Ryan, Sue, or Mark, do any, or even Matthew there, anything you'd like to share?
My pack. I was just gonna say, my pack and troop, I've got a big vacant commercial building, and we've done a camp in, and we're planning to do another one on that. And the kids are able to be spread out quite wide in that. So even though it's ridiculously cold out, it's not quite as cold in there. And that was kind of fun.
Okay. Neat. Yeah.
I had mentioned we're working on our Pinewood Derby. This is Matthew, by the way. We are planning winter camp. And I tell you, every year at winter camp, we always have a different theme. And so this year we're doing a space theme, and we're going to let the kids build and launch model rockets, which they have a lot of fun with. And then one other thing with the rain gutter regatta, our kids did that a couple years ago and they loved it. But one suggestion I have is maybe the dollar store or Walmart has some really cheap personal fans that you could use if you wanted to do the boats and not have to blow.
Also, Jack I was with in Virginia had a boy that was asthmatic and could not blow on the boats. So they used ping pong paddles to get the boats, catch the sail just right and get them down the
That's a good
rain
idea
gutter.
too. Yeah, great.
Thank you for those suggestions.
Great. Brenda, Sue, or Mark, anything you would like to add at this point?
For our PAC 91, we're planning our PAC meeting, or we're planning on getting together out at Polar Day Camp in February, and we just had our winter camp day this last weekend, and we built our Pinewood Derby cars and did some other activities, and had our blue and gold. But in March, I'm hoping that we can get together and do some outdoor activities again, and we're planning our Pinewood Derby towards the end of March, I believe. So it's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, somebody already mentioned about going ice fishing. We've done that once with our troop as well, and we got another one up here at the end of the month. We're going to go again. It was a lot of fun. A little cold right now, but the scouts still had a good time running around on the ice.
All right. Anything else before we jump back to the main room? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This was a really good conversation. I think a lot of good ideas presented, and a lot of things to consider coming up here. So really appreciate all of your contributions.
We'll see everybody in the main session shortly.